All right, thanks all for tuning in here. Ugh, God, change this lighting. Wow, man. All right, much better. All right, so hope all are well. I want to look at these Amazon earnings real quick here, and I want to actually, you know what? I want to put this in the context of what I talked about the other day. If we look at the biggest stocks in the market, we got three of them, and no surprise, you know them: Microsoft. Um, Hold on. Microsoft, Apple, and Nvidia, right? So altogether, they're about 18% of the market, which is a lot because this is three companies, and the S&P 500 is 500 companies. That's the name. So we talked about how if Nvidia couldn't get back up above support, and we're getting kind of close there, so this is going to be something to really watch. If Nvidia can't break this support, that's going to be big for the broader markets. And let's take a look at Apple. So far, Apple has held its support level. And then Microsoft, we got to look at. And Microsoft is kind of holding support. So the market is set up where it could be pretty weak, right? If Microsoft breaks support, if Apple breaks support, and if Nvidia can't get above that resistance, then those are going to be three bearish things. Now, the reason why I wanted to bring up Amazon is because I was looking at the numbers, and frankly, to me, unless I'm missing something, these are blowout numbers. But yet the stock is trading down to about there. Okay. Now, not a surprise that this is where it found support, right? Because as we know, there's tends to be support at former resistance levels. So you can't see it because the markets are closed. It is trading in the aftermarket, but right where this blue line is where Amazon is trading. Now, this is what we would call, or what I would put in the category of what we would call bad action. A company reports really good numbers, and yet the stock goes down. Well, what does this mean? It means that the people that wanted to buy it already took positions. They thought, oh, this number is going to be great. The number is going to come out and the stock is going to go higher. So I'm going to go buy some. Well, everyone who wanted to buy some bought some. Then the number comes out, good, bad, or indifferent. There's no one left to buy it. And in this case, people start thinking, gee, it's not up. So I better sell it. Something's wrong. And they can't find any buyers because the buyers are done. They got to really knock it down. It's what we call the crowded trade, or the buy on the rumor, sell on the news. Now, one thing to think about here, without even, you know, without knowing too much about fundamentals, and I don't claim to be a fundamental um, analyst, but I've been around the block enough to know that I've picked up a few things. So we're just going to type in Amazon and then IR, which is the investor relations. Now, kind of interesting here. Forget the earnings release. Let's look at the slides. Companies don't need to put out slides. They need to put out an earnings result or release. That's the law under the SEC. They don't need to put out slides. Now, one of the things I've learned over the years is if the numbers are good, they're like right in the front of the slides. If the numbers aren't good, they're like way in the back, or they're maybe not even in there. So if you bring up earnings slides from a company and the numbers are right within the first couple of pages, there's a real good chance the numbers are good. So if we look at Amazon, we get through the disclosures. Look at that. Basically, the first page of the presentation: sales up. TTM means trailing 12 months. I mean, that looks good. This is the big thing here, is operating income. Operating income is how much a company makes after every dollar of sales. In other words, if their operating income is 5%, well, after every dollar of sales, after all is said and done, they make 5 cents. If it's 10%, after all is said and done, they make 10 cents. So this is like a really important number to watch. Some people would say it's even the most important. To me, this is probably the first thing that I look at when I'm looking at fundamentals, because if operating margins are getting better, it shows that the company is becoming more efficient. Anyway, look, that looks good. That looks good. There's the net income. So these look like pretty much kick-ass numbers, you know. Another thing to look at when you're looking at a retailer is the balance sheet to see if the inventory is growing. Inventory is the stuff that's in the back. Like I'm one of those guys that's always like, hey, you got anything in the back? You know. Well, if something isn't selling, what happens? It goes into inventory. So if we look at the balance sheet, all right, that's the income statement. Sales, blah, blah, blah. Okay, here's the balance sheet. So inventories. All right. So from December of last year to this year, inventories have grown a teeny tiny bit. So nothing to really, worry about there. There's not a red flag sign there. Goodwill's up a little bit. So anyway, that brings me back to my original thought. Now, as a trader, because I'm not a fundamental analyst, we look at market action. Really good numbers, and the stock is down. All right. That's what we call bad action. It could mean that the market's at a top. People that are, want to buy, or, their gunpowder is spent for whatever, whatever you want to call it. But what I talked about before with Apple, Microsoft, and Nvidia, here's the S&P 500. So if those levels in Apple and Microsoft hold and they reverse, and if Nvidia can break that resistance, we're going to get a new uptrend here. If not, there's going to be some pretty good trading ideas on the downside. And remember, a lot of times it's easier to make money on the downside because markets go down faster than they go up. Markets go down because of fear. They go up because of hope. All right, now we thought about oil for a reversal here, and it didn't happen, but our trade never got triggered. See, this is why you have to have a trigger. I thought that we were going to get a rally and a reversal, but we didn't. But because we never got triggered, no money was lost. All right, anyway, everyone. So that's, actually, let's look at these other big guys before I get going there. So let's look at Google, the Magnificent Seven. Yeah, all right. So here's something else to watch. Google is testing the bottom of a range. So yeah, so I mean, we got to put that on the same kind of thing as Apple and Microsoft. There's another big guy testing support. This will be an easy market to read. It might take a couple days or maybe a week or two to play out, but if we simultaneously see all these support levels start to break in these big guys, well, then the whole market's going to head south. And they're at clear levels. Let's see. Here's Facebook. All right, so Facebook is kind of doing okay. Let's look at Tesla. Man, I've been seeing a bunch of those Tesla trucks around town here where I live. Those freaking things are ugly, man. They remind me of the space shuttle on I mean, sorry, the shuttlecraft on Star Trek. Okay, interesting here on Tesla, right? At support. Now, a lot of times when you see these lower highs, markets go in peaks and valleys. When the peak forms at a lower level than the prior peak, you call that a lower high. That tells us that as time is going by here, the sellers are getting more aggressive. The buyers are hanging out, but the sellers are getting more aggressive, which means there's a good chance that this support breaks as well. All right. So, I think we got a pretty good picture here. What's going on? A lot of these big guys are at pretty critical levels to watch. And like I said, it might take a few days or weeks to play out, but I think we're going to know real soon. Well, I just contradicted myself. If these levels start to break, we got Tesla, we got Microsoft, yada, 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 then there's going to be some really good ideas on the downside. And probably the catalyst or what the start of it could be is a reversal here off of NVIDIA, off of this resistance. So, main thing to watch tomorrow, and that's this. All right. Thanks, everyone. I will see you all tomorrow.